Hello everybody, my name is Lucas, aka the Frozen Controller, and today I'm going to be covering the top 10 one-drops for the modern format. These are just my opinions from what I've personally seen, and from my experiences playing these cards. So number 10, I have Phantasmal Bear. If you're playing a blue aggro deck, like Illusions or Blue Burn or something like that, Phantasmal Bear is a 4 of, just because it has the highest base power on a blue 1-drop without flipping. The downside to it is any removal spell or any targeted spell just causes you to sacrifice it. If you're playing a blue deck and you want to close out the game quickly, this is one of the best cards to do it, especially if you have Lord of the Unreal in your deck, because then it gives it hexproof and +1/+1. So then on turn 2 you're swinging with a 3/3 hexproof. And then as soon as you can start Phantasmal imaging your Lord of the Unreal, then Phantasmal Bear is the 1-drop they can't stop. Oh god, that was cheesy. I'm a Burn player. I mean, I play most decks, but Burn has always been one of my favorites. So for the mono red Burn builds, Spark Elemental always a 4. Like, if you don't have access, if you're playing a deck that doesn't use Lightning Helixes or Boros Charms, or Bump in the Nights, or Tarkus Commands, or anything like that, Spark Elemental is just great. Because you just play it, it gets in, if they block it, it usually goes through what they block it with, in the early turns at least, and it has Trample, so whatever it doesn't use on the blocker just goes right through. It's also good against Stuffy Doll decks, because then you only have to assign one. Whereas if you'd be swinging with something like a Goblin Guide or a Eidolon, then you'd be taking 2. Number 8, it's a very plain 1-drop, but it's a 2/2 for 1. Isamaru, Hound of Konda. Doesn't see much modern play, if any. See some commander play though. It is a very favored commander. I just put it here because as 1-drops in white go, Isamaru is quite solid. Because it's just a vanilla 2/2 for 1. I mean, nothing wrong with that. At number 7, we have Champion of the Parish, which is probably one of the most played ones on this list with the recent surge of human decks in Modern. The reason I put this at 7th and not higher up on the list is simply due to its reliance on other cards. Like, if you get a slow hand or in the late game, Champion of the Parish just becomes like a very slow, a very weak draw late in the game if you're top decking. Whereas a lot of these other cards would be pretty decent, because it's only a 1/1 for 1 if you don't have any other humans. However, if you have a lot of other humans, then Champion of the Parish becomes one of the best 1-drops, just straight up. Number 6, we've got Gravecrawler. You used to see a lot of modern play in like Dredge. Now, not so much. C's playing some like untiered zombie decks. And it does also see play in some forms of Black Devotion, just due to the fact that it's a 2/1 for 1. Can't block, but it can recur itself. Well, if you have another zombie. Number 5, I was going to try to pick one of the 1-drops in Elves, but really, there are so many good 1-drops in Elves. There's Heritage Druid, Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic, Nettle Sentinel. I'm certain there's more that I'm not thinking of. That just make the deck go so quickly and allow you to play like Crater Hoofs on turn 3, which is ridiculous. Number 4, we have Octabi Drake, I think is how you pronounce that. It's a very little used 1-drop 2/1 Flying Haster from Planar Chaos. Sees a lot of play in Pauper, like in Green Devotion decks and Pauper. But I think it could see some modern play, like in like a maybe like a very aggressive living end style deck. Like a lot of living end style decks are more control based, but if you had one that had a lot of evoke and echo things, then Uktabi Drake would go right into that, and it would be one of those things that you can attack with as soon as you living end, which is always good. And if you end up getting it while you're mana flooded, well, you can just keep it around as a 2/1 flyer, which is pretty damn good, if you ask me. At number 3, we've got another one that's very dependent, which is very dependent on how the game is going, but it's still really good. Death Shadow relies entirely on your life total. However, in Modern, your life total, it's usually safe to assume it's going to get below 10 in a given game, unless you're playing something with like Coursers, a Crewfix, and Primeval Titan where you're gaining a ton of life. But if you're playing just normal deck with fetches and shocks and stuff, Death Shadow, it's going to be then playing a Death Shadow just gives you a great presence on the field. And often, if you go like Mutagenic Growth and Temur Battle Rage on a Death Shadow, you just win the game without any hassle, which is always a good thing to have. Yeah, it's always a good thing to have the option to just one-shot your opponent. Considering this is considering this is the one of only 2 cards on this list with a deck named after it, I would say Death Shadow is a very, very solid 1-drop. But so can most of the people in Modern. Fatal Push does kind of mess on it, but what can you do? Dies to removal is not a valid argument, because everything dies to removal. Number 2, we've got Delver of Secrets. This one would have been number 1, but last F&M, and just many times in the past, I've seen games where someone plays a Delver and then it doesn't flip for like 7 turns. But then there's also the games when you play Delver on 1, flip it on 2, and then you play 2 more Delvers on turn 2, flip both of them, and you've taken them down 12 health on turn 3 for the turn 4 Delver kill, not counting like bolts and stuff, which is quite good actually. But Delver not only is played in Modern, but it also sees play in Legacy, and I think it might have been, I think I ventured into Vintage once and I saw a deck with Delvers in it. I don't know if it was like a tier deck at all, because I don't pay attention to Vintage. I just don't really care for the format, because it's basically, you take these 8, or you take like 7 or 8 cards, and then you build a 52 card deck, essentially. That's all Vintage is. And I know there's people who like their Vintage, but I don't know. Having someone take 20 turns in a row before you get a turn kinda makes you not want to go back. Now, number 1, I might be a little biased because I'm a Burn player, and what's the iconic Burn 1-drop? Goblin Guide. 2/2 for 1 with haste. When it attacks, your opponent reveals the top card of their library. Who cares? Because if it's land they put to their hand, okay, like, it only comes back to bite you if they're playing like a Courser deck, where they gain life when they play lands. But in general, that won't really come back to hurt you in the majority of games, especially if they keep revealing non-land cards, because it kind of relies, like them getting any value out of your Goblin Guide relies on them getting mana flooded, which is not what they want. They don't want to get mana flooded, but that's the only way they benefit from this. Yeah, either way, you're 99% likely to get some great value out of your Goblin Guide. A couple honorable mentions before I wrap this up. Kosi's Trickster, the 1/1 merfolk that whenever an opponent shuffles his or her library, put a 1/1 counter on it. And Charging Badger needs no explanation. So anyway, I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you everyone for watching. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more comedy. Subscribe for more quality, not comedy content. Although that may be coming, I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure out what I should do. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.